I will try to do justice to Bartholomew Kuma. He is probably the most underrated character in One Piece. But after this, if he is not one of your favorite at least, then I have failed. Warning, this will have many spoilers about One Piece, especially chapters 1095 to 1103. If you are watching the anime, then this is probably 50 episodes in the future, roughly. So unless you don't mind finding out about what makes Kuma a legend, then proceed. Bartholomew Kuma, or the Tyrant King, is one of the 7 warlords before the system was abolished. Up to this point of the story, Kuma's greatest contributions has been almost killing Zoro and dispersing the Straw Hat crew at Sabaody. I will be diving into Kuma's past all the way up to the present. So let's start with the present. Bonney, the daughter of Kuma, is standing between life and death, currently in the grips of one of the world leaders, an elder, who is about to kill her. And I won't dive too deep into that, but how we got here. Let's start from the beginning. Kuma was born in the Sorbet Kingdom. Kuma has Buccaneer blood, which is a unique and tough race which has been following the prophecy of Nika, the sun god. Kuma's dad was a slave, and his mother died when he was young. Kuma was raised to believe Nika will free the world from tyranny and bring forward true peace. Kuma was present during the God Valley incident. This is where Kuma had 3 key moments of his life. He obtained his pawpaw fruit, he met Ivankov of the Revolutionary Army, and his wife-to-be, Ginny. I will leave any detail about God Valley out of this, as it's purely a video for Kuma. So fast forward, Kuma returns to the Sorbet Kingdom after somehow escaping the God Valley incident. Ivankov sets on his journey, while Ginny stays with Kuma to look after Kuma. They spend time together, build a bond, and 8 years pass by. Kuma has been using his devil fruit powers to take away pain from everyone he could help, but there is a catch. Every day that he removes the pain from the people of the kingdom, it all gets stored in a big energy ball shaped like a paw. Someone has to take that pain or else it returns back to the source, so Kuma takes all the pain on himself by touching the ball of pain at the end of the day. Ginny found out about this and confronted Kuma, but he remained steadfast in his cause. Each time he suffered, she nursed him back to health. Time passed and life was peaceful, until Kuma turned 25. The Sorbet Kingdom had a north-south divide. The north had an evil ruling king, which eventually passed a law that allowed northerners to do as they pleased to the southerners. The northerners kidnapped the southerners, which leads to Kuma trying to free those who have been kidnapped. He unleashes a devastating attack, but in the end is captured. As Ginny and Kuma talk in prison about their plight, a familiar face returns. Ivankov frees Kuma and Ginny, but he didn't come alone. He brought Monkey D. Dragon, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. After freeing them, Ivankov asked them if they wanted to change the world. This gave birth to the Revolutionary Army. The first task the Revolutionary Army took up was to free the Sorbet Kingdom from the Tyrant King, Bekori. Confused, right? I thought Kuma was the Tyrant King. Stick with me. 8 more years pass, and Kuma and Ginny have been freeing people around the world with the Revolutionary Army. During one of their missions, something unexpected happens. Ginny is kidnapped, and the capturers are the Celestial Dragons. 2 years pass since the kidnapping, and a call is received. It's Ginny. We find out that not only did the Celestial Dragons kidnap Ginny, they also forced her into marriage and then discarded her as soon as she got sick. As Ginny sits at death's door, about to take her last breaths, Kuma rushes to the one place they think she would have gone. Ginny had a sickness which turns a person to stone the more they are exposed to natural light. This includes sunlight or moonlight. Arriving at her side, he also found one more secret. Ginny had a daughter. In the memory of Ginny, Kuma promised to raise Ginny's daughter like his own. Kuma splits his time between fighting as a Revolutionary Army member and raising a wild daughter at home. All was well until one day he noticed there was a speck on Bonney's cheek. This looked like the exact same condition Ginny had died from. In a panic, Kuma boarded everything up to prevent any sunlight from getting in. Kuma quits the Revolutionary Army, explains to Dragon his daughter's condition. Dragon understood and said he would try to find a way to help. Bonney grows up away from sunlight while Kuma spends all his time with her until a doctor is able to work out what's wrong. Eventually that day comes. It's concluded the illness is a rare and incurable disease called sapphire scale, which worsens when exposed to natural light. It is terminal and she only has 5 years at most. Bonney won't survive past her 10th birthday. Bonney eavesdrops only to hear that everything will be over by her 10th birthday and assumes she will be cured by then. Kuma can't bring himself to tell her the truth. On the back of one bad news, a second arrives that the Tyrant King of the North has returned and is seeking to take control by force. Kuma goes to war. Kuma leads a one-man revolution to free the nation once again. Kuma overpowers her and comes out victorious. The people of the kingdom want to have Kuma be the king of the Sorbet Kingdom. During the celebrations, a young woman runs towards him. She is the spitting image of Ginny. It is revealed that she is Bonney. Somehow she is able to modify her appearance. Someone identifies the fruit and says Bonney must have eaten the age fruit. This is a devil fruit which allows the user to modify their age. News finally reaches the Sobei Kingdom, and Kuma has been labeled the Tyrant King by the world government, and the previous king is coming to claim his throne for a third time. This time, Kuma leaves the kingdom to protect it from the attack again, and leaves Bonney with someone trusted but not without taking out the oncoming threat. Kuma faces Bikori and puts an end to his constant onslaughts. After these events, Kuma is labeled a pirate. While in exile, the revolutionary army comes across Kuma again and accepts him back into the fold, ridiculing the claim that he is some kind of tyrant. Kuma makes no secrets that curing Bonney is his first priority. Dragon accepts his terms. Dragon eventually puts Kuma in touch with the world government scientist, the brilliant Dr. Vegapunk. Vegapunk is stunned to see a member of the Buccaneer race. To his fascination, he makes a proposal that if Kuma lets him use his blood to create clones, he will treat Bonney with his advanced technology and knowledge. Vegapunk tells Kuma that he wants to create an army of clones which will be able to save the world from injustice and be a force for good. Kuma accepts the offer as long as he promises to save Bonney. This gave birth to the Pacifistas. Kizaru turns up and questions making a well-known pirate the face of the navy. Due to this issue, a few more conditions are placed on the deal by the head of the world government. First, they want Kuma to take up a spot in the 7 warlords of the government. Second, they don't want just clones, they want to transform Kuma himself into a weapon as well. Last condition, due to his past as a revolutionary member, he has to give up his free will and become completely subservient. Vegapunk has an issue with the last condition. Removing Kuma's free will completely turn him into a robot. Vegapunk wanted a cyborg. Kuma accepts all 3 conditions as long as it saves Bonney, even if he is never able to remember her again. Kuma places one more condition, that Bonney is never allowed to know about her condition or that she was a term in his deal. They accept. Vegapunk notifies Kuma that it will take a year or 2 to fully heal Bonney and to fully transform Kuma. She will spend some time at the treatment facility and the remainder of the time back at the Sobei Kingdom, but under the watch of the world government, to ensure Kuma doesn't turn back on his word. Kuma leaves Bonney with one of the members of the royal family, Granny Connie. Kuma says his final goodbyes, knowing that he may never see her again. The world government sends a nurse to continue Bonney's rehabilitation, but this is just a way to implant a Cypherpol agent, Alpha, to keep watch over Bonney. Kuma promised to send letters back to Bonney with whatever parts of himself are still there, talking of his dreams and his journeys. These letters never reach Bonney. Cypherpol Agent Alpha is intercepting them all and discarding them as they arrive. Kuma pours his heart out in these letters, sending almost 10 a month, but not a single one makes it to Bonney. Bonney is breaking not hearing from her dad, even though he promised to send her letters. Granny Connie discovers that Alpha is a world government agent and creates a plan to get Bonney free. After the plan is put into execution, Alpha catches on and intervenes Bonney at the dock, only for Bonney to exhibit one of her strongest abilities, the ability to project a future version of someone. In this event, she picks Nika, easily defeating Alpha and setting out to sea to find out what happened to her father. Bonney sails the seas looking for anywhere she may find her dad. Every time she gets close, Kuma disappears, as he knows the risk to her if she does find him. We then see all the key moments in One Piece where Kuma was present from his perspective. Kuma starting to believe Luffy may be Nika and revealing to Vegapunk that Luffy is Dragon's son. Kuma turning up at Thriller Park and taking all of Luffy's pain and putting it in a paw-shaped energy ball. Kuma asks Zoro to touch the energy ball. Kuma wanted to test Zoro's resolve and whether he would give his all for his captain. Zoro passes the test with flying colors. Next, we move on to Sabaody and we see Luffy hit a celestial dragon while Kuma watches. Kuma says this has not happened in centuries. He's starting to believe in Luffy more and more. Towards the end of the arc, Kuma sees Kizaru is trying to take out the Straw Hats. Kuma is now sold on the idea that Straw Hats will be important players, but they are not ready yet. So he decides to disperse the crew and send them to different parts of the world to continue their training. We move on to a conversation between Vegapunk and one of the elders. Vegapunk proposes that he has found a way to allow Kuma to switch between 2 personalities. The world government shuts this down and demands all traces of the original Kuma are gone. We arrive at the day that Kuma will be completely wiped. Kuma asks Vegapunk for one last favor after he's erased, to be configured to guard the Straw Hats ship for the time that they are away for training until one of them returns. Kuma is now completely on board. Luffy will change the world. Before the procedure, Vegapunk asks Kuma to put all his memories into a paw-shaped memory ball. Vegapunk insists it's for research purposes and it will disappear once touched by anybody, and all the knowledge will be transferred to that person who touches it. Vegapunk advises him that he has found a way to tap into his memories without actually touching the memory ball. Kuma has another request, for Vegapunk to wish Bonney a happy 10th birthday. We now return to the day before the current events in the present time. We see Bonney crying her eyes out, broken. She has just touched Kuma's memory ball, and now everything her father has done for her, everything her father has been through, everything her father has sacrificed, has been transferred to her. Now we are back to the current events, and Bonney is in the grips of the world government, but not without some final words. We find out that it was one of the elders that experimented on her mother by giving her drugs. This resulted in her sickness, the illness that she died from, the illness that was inherited by Bonney. But we also find out Bonney was an experiment. The elders were trying to find a way to give devil fruit powers to someone without them having to actually consume one themselves. Bonney came to the unfortunate realization that all of Kuma's suffering was carefully planned and orchestrated by the man in front of her. She also realized that she is not strong enough to exact revenge, so decides that she will no longer be used as a weapon against her father and accepts death. As the final blow is about to land on Bonney, someone intervenes. One final act of love. Father holds his daughter and turns to exact his revenge.